Hi everyone, today's math lesson is lesson 2.5 where we will be practicing adding whole numbers and decimals. Please find a scarlet color crayon, it's this dark orange looking crayon, and a black, and set up your journal like this. Push pause on your video and get it all the way caught up. When adding, remember to align place values. Put the addition sign. And then you should have drawn these two black arrows and written these statements. Again, if you haven't yet, you need to push pause on the video and get your statements written, and then you can resume. So when adding, remember to align place values. This might mean that you have to place a decimal after the ones place to line the place values up correctly. Like they might not have given you a decimal and you have to put it on yourself. This might mean that you have to fill empty place values with zero the hero. Okay, so those are the two first things that you need to remember, and now we're going to practice two like that. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is going to look like this. Let's just put it left to right. 92 and 24 hundredths added to 3 6/10. So we're going to have to use all of our skills for adding and subtracting decimals from last lesson about the button man, and then we're going to make sure we remember that you have to line the decimals up. So when you're doing a problem like this, you should move it over to the side, or I'm actually going to move it over here and stack it up. So it should look like 92.24 added to 3.6. The 3 is in the ones place, so it needs to go in the ones place there. The decimals line up perfectly. I have a 6 in the tenths place, and then my equals bar. So you can see right here, use your scarlet color, that you're going to need to fly in a zero the hero right there in the hundredth spot. And now I can add them because the place values. You could technically put a 0 right here in the tens, but you don't need to. So 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 plus 6 is 8. Do you know the button man, the button man, the button man? Do you know the button man? He lines the decimals up. There we go. I have a final answer of 95 and 84 hundredths. Go ahead and circle that. So that was one example of a situation where we had to line up the place values and use a zero the hero. All right, the next one we're going to try looks like this. Let's write it off to the side. 46 and 8 hundredths added to 97 hundredths. Okay, in this situation, you are going to need to make sure that you line up the decimals again. So let's rewrite it off to the side. 46.08 added to 0.97. Notice how I put the decimals right in line with each other. And I don't really need to fly in zero the heroes unless you really want to put one right there. But you don't need to. And I just add those together. 8 plus 7 is 15. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. Don't forget the decimal. Make sure it buttons up straight. 6 plus 1 is 7. 4 plus nothing is 4. So my final answer on that one is 47 and 5 hundredths. So those were just two examples of adding decimals where you have to stack them up, and you had to use a zero the hero on this one. Okay? Now, something else might happen when you are adding whole numbers and decimals. So we're going to need to draw another one of those black arrows. But for right now, I'm just going to write the statement a little bit underneath this one. We want to be aware that sometimes when adding, you can use mental math. So I'm just going to write this right here. Sometimes when adding whole numbers and decimals, we can use mental math. Okay, sometimes when adding whole numbers and decimals, we can use mental math. Another situation right here. So mental math, we're going to show some examples of that in a minute. But it says this might mean that we pay close attention to measurements, labels, and place values. I'm actually going to change the word might right there, because if you are going to use mental math, it's not a question. You have to do this. So this will mean. I'm actually going to put that in an orange box. I'm so glad we changed that. This will mean that we have to, sorry, we're adding here. So this will mean that we have to pay, close attention to measurements, labels, and place values. Sorry about that. But we are going to draw our other arrow. So you're just going to do it like before. That black arrow goes there. You can color it in. And then we have another one that goes here. So sometimes when adding whole numbers and decimals, we can use mental math. This will mean that we have to pay close attention to measurements, labels, and place values. Let's give some examples of that, okay? So let's just do it with money. I think that's a really great example. So here's an example. If I had given you do the dollar sign, $37, and I just represent it like that because that can represent $37. So can 37.00, right? But that is $37. And then I ask you to add 45 cents. I need you to be really familiar with these few things. That is the dollar sign. And this is the cent sign. These are wholes and these are pieces. If I had $37 and someone gave me 45 cents, how much would I have combined? This is pretty easy. It is mental math. You just need to be very careful. You're not going to add 37 plus 45. These are whole dollars and these are coins or pieces. So when you add those together, just mentally, we're going to write a little mental math here. When you add those together, you would get $37 and 45 cents. Can you see how that works? I have $37 and then the decimal part, 0.45, took care of my 45 cents because that would mean 45 pennies or 45 hundredths. So that is my final answer. Simply without stacking them up, I just did a quick mental math problem. $37 and someone gave me 45 cents. So I had $37 and 45 cents. See, it makes perfect sense. Another situation where maybe it's not money, but it's more labels or measurements might be something like this. If I have 5 meters, remember meters are represented with just a little m. If I have 5 meters, 5 whole meters, think about 5 whole meter sticks in the classroom. 5 of those, pretty long. And I add 0.08 hundredths of a meter to that length that I already have, what would my total be? In this situation, it can be mental math again. They are both meters. So I'm going to actually use both of them as meters. So that means there doesn't need to be a combination necessarily of dollars and cents or two different measurements. It's just I have a 5 in the ones place and I didn't have anything in the ones place over here. So if I have 5 whole of something and then someone gives me 8 hundredths, this can be done in my head. Then I have 5 whole and 8 hundredths of a meter. So hopefully you're paying attention to why that makes sense. It's because I didn't have any in the wholes place over here, the ones place. And if I added that to the ones place, it would just be 5 plus 0, which is 5. And then I didn't have anything in the tenths or hundredths over here. And so those tenths and hundredths just stayed the same. That is how you do mental math problems with adding whole numbers and decimals. I think it might be good to do maybe one more of these. Let's do one right here, small. 6.4 meters added to 0.07 meters. So again, they're meters and meters. So that's nice. I'm just going to double check. This one has 1 in the ones place. This one has nothing. So I know that it's a 6 in the ones place. This one has a 4 in the tenths. This one has nothing. So it's a 4 in the tenths place. This one doesn't have a hundredths, but this one has a 7 in the hundredths. So it's a 7 in the hundredths, and it's meters. And my final answer is 6.47 meters. And that worked mentally instead of stacking them up like the button man, because I was looking at, well, there's nothing in the ones. This one had a 0 in the tenths, so that'll be easy to add that to the tenths. And this one didn't have hundredths, so it'd be easy just to bring the hundredths. It's like saying if I had $6 and 4 dimes and then gave you 7 pennies, I would have $6, 4 dimes, and 7 pennies. So don't be tricked by this. You cannot do all of them mentally. Here's an example. I don't really want you to be doing these kinds of problems mentally. I guess technically this one we probably could have done mentally. And even this one with another trick we're going to learn later. But I still think it's important that you know how to line up the place values, because you're going to be dealing with some pretty difficult numbers sometimes. But it's also really important that you do learn the skill of mental math, that sometimes it can be a little bit faster to just add them in your head, especially with dollars and cents. So I want you to be paying close attention to that as you move forward, okay? Check out the next video. But before you do that, you are going to need to find page 57 in your math workbook, and you'll need to rip it all the way out. Get your name and number at the top on page 57, and your name and number at the top right corner on page 58. So I'll see you in the next video with those things out and ready.